Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to part 2 of Notes 4.2. So hopefully you've been pausing the video and doing a question on BuzzMath because these are kind of long questions and tricky questions. So question 5 asks us to go ahead and combine all the vocabulary we have just for this expression of 17xy plus y minus 7 plus 10y. It wants us to identify certain things in that expression. So the number of terms. Well, let's count the number of terms. Remember, terms are just separated by pluses and minus signs. So that's one term. That's 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. There's 4 terms, all right? So that's why this gets connected all the way down. The like terms. If I scan through here, what are the like terms? Is 17xy. Are there any other xy's out there? Nope. Y. Do I have any other y's out there? Yeah, y and 10y. And you might be like, well, that one's got a 10 and that one doesn't. Again, all they have to do is have the same exact variable and the same exact exponent. They don't have to have the same coefficient. So yes, y and 10y are like terms. In fact, you could even throw a 1 in front of there, but we don't have to. So y and 10y are like terms. The constant. What's a constant? Constant's a number all by itself. Remember? A number all by itself. So as I scan through the expression, do I have a number all by itself? Well, that's attached to a variable. That's a coefficient. That's a variable all by itself. 7, all by itself, right there. And in fact, what they do is they say, okay, a constant, they include the sign in front of the constant. So it's not just 7, it's negative 7, right? You could even go through and say plus a negative, right? So the coefficient of xy, what number is in front of xy? Well, that's easy. It's 17. And what number, the coefficient of y, what number is in front of y? It's 10. Okay, so that's a super tricky one. I might even rewind this video, rewatch it again, pause it, and then try the BuzzMath one. All right, number 6 is pretty easy. It says, what's the numerical expression 4 times 3 represent? Well, that's 12. And what do we call the answer to a multiplication problem? We call it the product, right? So this part is a little bit tricky, though. For the distributive property of 3 times 12, how do we get that? 3 times 12, we could get this answer in a whole bunch of different ways. First, we could say order of operations. We could say, oh, this is the same thing as 3 times, what's 12 plus 28? It's 40, right? So the first way you can do is just add up the parentheses and say, okay, now I'm going to multiply, right? A number next to a parentheses means multiply, right? You did this on your homework last night. Like, this doesn't mean 36, it means 18, right? So we could just replace the parentheses with a times sign. Okay? Another way we could do this is the distributive property. What do I mean by that? Well, if I have 3 times 12 plus 28, you multiply the number on the outside by both numbers on the inside and keep the plus sign. So what does this give us? Well, I could say this is 3 times 12 plus 3 times 28, right? Or, so this is one way, this is 2 ways, or a third way I could even do it is even say, okay, what is 3 times 12? Well, 3 times 12 is 36, plus, what is 3 times 28? Again, use the calculator, 84. Right, so that I have 3 different ways I can actually show this expression, right? So, and now I just look for those 3 ways. Be very, very careful for plus signs and time signs. So because this has a time sign, that's not an answer. 3 plus 40. Did I have 3 plus 40? No, I had 3 times 40, not 3 plus 40. So again, because there's a plus sign there, that's wrong. 3 times 12 plus 3 times 28. Yeah, I had that right here. Just, they had parentheses, no big deal, right? 3 times 40, did I have that? Yeah, that's my very first one, order of operations. 3 times those 2 things added together, right? 36 plus 84, yep, that was my last one. 36 times 84, no, again, look very close. Sometimes you want the plus sign, sometimes you want the time sign. So look for those 3 different ways on your problem. Pause this, do number 6. 6 is super tricky. All right, number 7 is very easy. When n is 4, what is the value of 7 times n? That's just saying, okay, plug in 4 for n. 7 times 4 is 28. Again, the value is called, what's the answer to a multiplication problem? It's called the product. Right? When n is 28, what does 7n represent? So 7 parentheses 28, just like you did on your homework last night. That means 7 times, right? Times, not just 728, right? 7 times 28 gives us 196, right? So you multiply 196, okay? And then here, we just use the distributive property, right? The distributive property says multiply the number on the outside by each number on the inside. So when I do that, I get 4 times n, which gives me 4n. And then I do 4 times 7, put the plus sign down, right? Because there's still a plus sign there, plus 4 times 7, which gives me 28. Now I want to do a different one. This is kind of jumping ahead, but let's say it said 4n minus 7. You do 4 times n, and then use your plus and negative, and it becomes 4 times negative 7. So your answer in the front term would still be 4n, plus 4 times negative 7 would be negative 28. So if they change that to a minus sign, you'd say plus negative, and you'd have negative 28. This is your answer for the problem, but I'm just saying if they change the problem. Pause this, do number 7. All right, number 8. You have 25 over 5. So what does that represent? Obviously 25 divided by 5 is 5. All right. The answer to this is a quotient. All right. And then we're doing the same thing. When n is 9, what does 27 divided by n? Basically 27 divided by 9. What does it give you? It gives you 3. Okay. Pause that. Do number 8. All right. Number 10 might be the toughest one on here. But basically all you're doing is using the distributive property and combined like terms. First thing you need to do, see the minus sign, go plus a negative. Okay. Next thing you need to do is look for your like terms. So you got 17y, 14y, and you want to say 3 right? But first you have to distribute 3 times y and 3 times 27. So let's rewrite this. 17y plus 14y plus, what is 3 times y? Well, that's just 3y. What is 3 times negative 9? Well, that's negative 27. See how I said plus negative 27? I could easily say just minus 27, but I just want to make sure you guys understand the negative. All right, so now add up all the like terms. Well, 17 plus 14 plus 3. That's not a like term because it doesn't have a y. If you use a calculator, you could add all that up. You're going to get 34y plus negative 27, and you're done. That's the answer. You don't combine those two. You don't have like terms. Let's do another one just because it's super complicated. All right, so again, first thing you want to do is say, okay, plus a negative, and you're going to want to distribute here 5 times y and 5 times negative 15. So let's rewrite the problem. 17y plus 18y plus 5y, 5 times y, plus 5 times negative 15 gives me negative 75. I use the calculator, don't worry about it. All right, I would totally do this problem with post-it notes, by the way. So add up all your like terms. Let's scan through and find the like terms. Well, I see a 17 has a y, 18 has a y, and 5 has a y. So 17 y plus 18y, 17 plus 18, that gives me 35, plus 5y more, 35 plus 5 gives me 40y, and then plus negative 75, okay? Basically, this last problem, without me going into too much detail, you're just going to want to select the one that has same value. We'll talk more about why that is tomorrow, okay? Again, rewind the video, pause, rewatch, and do your best on BuzzMath.